Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
The January 6th riot.
Speaker Pelosi.
She has objected to 2 members.
No committee in Congress will work if one person is picking all who can serve.
Ridiculous to put them on such a committee seeking the truth.
We are not out of the woods yet. The Delta variant.
The number of cases rising again.
Getting vaccinated.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. Tom and Benny, Mike Buscemi behind the dials, and got a good program lined up. We've got Jim Perry, Senator Jim Perry, who represents District 7, which includes Lenoir and Wayne counties. He's going to be coming on with us in a little bit. The big question, we're going to talk about several different things, but the big question is, and it's come from you, our listeners, this whole issue with getting the vaccine, and is it going to be required at Vidant? It's already been required at Duke hospitals and UNC hospitals, so we'll be asking him about that. Is there anything that they can do? He wrote an extensive paper on this that came out earlier this week. Well, there's lots of things to talk about with Jim Perry. So thank you, Benny, for lining that up for us. And we'll talk to him in a little bit. North Carolina is a big primary coming up, both for the Dems and the Republicans, to replace Rhino Richard Burr. North Carolina's 2022 primary 8 months away. The negative ads are starting this week. An Olympic theme ad on Governor Pat McCrory will air on the NBC affiliates in North Carolina. A group backing Ted Budd is behind the ad that takes aim at McCrory, the early leader in the polling and fundraising in the Republican field. Wait, I thought Budd was leading in the fundraising. This is out of the News and Observer. But it's got.
I haven't seen the reports. Did he? I didn't see.
They're all pretty close.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't make a big difference. One is maybe $100,000 ahead of the other, but it is a ad attacking McCrory. In the ad, they say, "Who took home the honors when Pat McCrory was governor?" Talking about the previous Olympics. The ad asks, featuring Olympic imagery throughout the ad. China, they took it home, and you paid for the medal. Club for Growth Action is running the ad in Raleigh, Charlotte, and Greensboro during the primetime Olympics, which nobody's watching. You might get some free ads on top of what you buy because nobody's watching the Olympics.
I still haven't watched really any of it.
I mean, in fact, normally on the Olympics, you're sort of inundated. All the newscasts would talk about it, and every time you turn on the radio, they're talking about it. There's nothing. There's crickets. I mean, you have to go searching for Olympic results when normally they're in your face. Anyway, they're spending $60,000 on this ad that basically says that when Pat McCrory was governor, he was doing too many favors for the Chi-Coms. McCrory, on the other hand, said, you know what, this was a project with the Chinese that brought jobs back to North Carolina. We'll see where that goes. By the way, we mentioned this off air yesterday, but they're already talking about doing debates between the top three, which would include Ted Budd, McCrory, and
Mark Walker.
Mark Walker is the third one. Mark Walker and McCrory have agreed to the first debate coming this fall. Walker said, "I thought you'd never ask." Ted Budd's campaign says, "I don't know. I have to think about that." Didn't say no, but
said
didn't
something
say
like
yes.
It's a little too early to be talking about that. I don't think anyone should ever shy away from debate unless they're so far ahead in the polls. There's no reason to, like Beverly Perdue used to do. She would, when she would be ahead in the polls, she wouldn't debate anybody.
Yeah. If you were in way ahead, there's no incentive for you to do that. But it's a right now, it looks like it's a two-way race on the Republican side, and this is going to obviously Mark Walker would want to get in there because it would help him considerably.
I think Mark Walker and Ted Budd both have nothing but to gain because they need name recognition, and
well, Mark Walker especially.
Yeah, And for Rhino Richard's seat, is that a Tom original? I like that, Rhino Richard.
Just off the top of my head.
I don't know if you can even say that he's a Republican in name only at all. He's just all out for Richard. But anyway, he's past history.
Yeah.
Don't let me get into Richard Burr. I could go forever.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe we should have Richard on like his last day in office just to say goodbye. Na 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 na. Hey hey, goodbye.
Is it going back to selling lawnmowers or whatever it was he was doing? What was it?
Was he?
A lawnmower salesman or something?
Was he really?
Something like that. I don't know.
No clue.
Let me ask Siri.
News and Observer is reporting Republican lawmakers yesterday said that their 2-hour meeting with representatives from the North Carolina. We need to ask Jim Perry about this. Their 2-hour meeting with representatives from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association was productive and indicated that legislation to make changes to the association is still needed, but conversations will continue. The closed meeting with the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Commissioner Q. Tucker and other staff members, attorneys, and board members of the association came days after the rapid advancement of House Bill 91 through the Senate. The legislation introduced last week by Senator Todd Johnson, a Republican from Union County, would replace the North Carolina High School Athletic Association with a new athletics commission, whose members would be appointed by the governor and legislative leaders. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association has governed high school athletics since 1913. GOP senators, including Vicky Sawyer of Iredell County and Tom McManus of Anson County, in addition to Johnson, have been holding talks with the association over the last several months about changes they said were necessary to instill transparency and accountability into the association's management for more than a dozen varsity sports. This sort of, I guess if you really followed this, it's not a big surprise that this is coming to light. But the biggest shocker in all this is the North Carolina Athletic High School Association has $41 million in the bank.
Yeah, and I think it's more than the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. I think I read that.
Wow.
And when you see the fees that they charge some of these high schools and, some of our poor areas in eastern North Carolina, it's just, what are you doing to $40 million?
Here's the other thing, too. I know our stations in the past have been requested to carry certain ball games, the playoff games, when they get to the state finals, and there's a local Eastern Carolina team that makes it. And it's almost like the stations want to do that as a public service to our listeners. Mm-hmm. There are times that the North Carolina High School Athletic Association makes it difficult and costly.
Oh yeah, it's like
to pull it off.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to broadcast a Bears game or something and violate, some professional sports team. And I know in football, high school football, I think they still have it. They have the schools, prior to COVID anyway, played this endowment game that basically the gate went to the High School Athletic Association for, I guess, to grow that $40 million. So,
$41 million in the bank.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. And they got a PPP loan, I think.
No.
I'm pretty certain I'm pretty certain I read that. Yeah.
Wow. There is a lot to talk about.
Hey, I was right about Richard Burr. He sold lawnmowers.
Did he really?
Yeah. So maybe I'm right about that.
So he worked at a John Deere dealer?
No, it was some lawn equipment distributor. So
wow.
I'm not making light of that, but that's about what he needs to go back to.
There are still today, and it seems like more and more, and it's they're making a big deal. We mentioned yesterday how there's this big spike in COVID cases up in the Maryland, D.C. area, and now Queen Nancy has come out, and I've got some audio on this from Tom Massey, who said Nancy can go where. On the mask mandate that members of the House and the staff have to wear masks if you're in the House. All the things that are happening right now, how many people in the Washington metropolitan area do you think have died in the last 2 weeks from COVID? Washington, I mean, that whole corridor, it's pretty crowded. I mean, that greater area has got to be well in excess of 1 million. It's probably about 1.5 million.
I know some stats I saw. They're highly vaccinated in that area. So let's say
the greater area, 2 million people. This is probably the greater D.C.
40 deaths.
Two.
Hmm.
And what do you want to bet? Those two had pre-existing conditions too. Now, again, I'm not making light of it. Someone lost a loved one. I understand for them it's tremendously sad and tragic. I get all that. But how many other people have died from who knows what in D.C.? Stabbing, shooting, car accidents, motorcycle accidents, drunk driving. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, to hear these people talk, it's as if nobody dies in the United States until COVID. And then suddenly these people have been dying. People have been expiring. Oh, my goodness, they've never died before, and suddenly they're dying. I mean, I'm sorry to sound morbid, but death is a part of life. And you have two people that pass away from COVID. There's all kinds of people dying from all kinds of diseases.
Well, I'm certainly not making light of it, but and we will never know this number, but if you could go backwards, number one, the number of COVID cases is grossly overstated because of clearly the PCR tests were at lower standards early on.
Right.
I mean, this is CDC information. This isn't Benny making this stuff up. And then, early on, it's just facts. I mean, states, when asked a point-blank question, yes, if you died and you were COVID positive and you died, that was a COVID death.
Right.
So how many false positives were there? How many, not real COVID deaths were there? So I don't know what the number is, but the death rate is still pretty low.
By the way, Joe Biden has come out and said he will now encourage states and local governments to pay people $100 apiece to go ahead and get the COVID vaccination. We were talking before the program. Right now, vaccination rate is somewhere 68 to 70%. And the thing, again, that they never talk about, and we'll bring this up with Jim as it relates to the hospitals and the schools and whatnot, but the thing they never talk about are those people that have antibodies through natural means because they've had COVID. If you take those people and put that into the mix of the vaccination, what is that number? Mm-hmm. It's got to be a lot higher than 68, 70%. I imagine it's probably up in the high 80s, maybe even 90s.
I bet. Mm-hmm.
Hey, stay with us. When we get back, Senator Jim Perry will be on the line with us. We'll be talking to him about vaccinations at hospitals. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In North Carolina, we get up before the sun rises and stay up into the wee hours of the night. We believe in working hard and playing harder. Behind every meal, there's a farmer, and behind every farmer, there's Got to Be NC, the official state identity program for North Carolina agricultural products. Look for the Got to Be NC logo wherever you shop or eat, and you'll know you're getting a quality product grown, raised, caught, or made in North Carolina.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. What when people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and Everybody gets along well, and you can tell that these guys and gals really know what they're talking about when it comes to interior design.
They do, and that's really what makes us different. We offer complete in-home design service. We don't charge a by-the-hour fee. It's a flat one-time fee. We work with you in here, in your home, in your business, and help pull everything together.
All right, it's more than just a fabric store. Fabric and Home Furnishings in Arlington Village. Come see this lady. She's fantastic. Fabric and Home Furnishings. Come see the renovations here in Arlington Village. And thank you for the visit today.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, you got to come see what they've done in the store here on Arlington Boulevard in Arlington Village.
Anything could happen ever since I met you. Let me take you dancing.
Introducing Pepsi Mango.
News and views.
He's kind of a diva. He's absolutely fascinating.
Ultimate gentleman spy. Irresistible to women, deadly to his enemies, a legend in his own time.
You won't believe what he's going to say next on Talk 96.3 and 103.7. Here's Tom Lamprecht.
Welcome back in, Tom and Benny, and Senator Jim Perry, who represents District 7, which includes Lenoir and Wayne counties. He's the Republican Majority Whip in the North Carolina State Senate, and he's on the line with us right now. Jim, welcome back in. Good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Jim.
Jim, we have had a number of calls and correspondence, text messages, emails with folks that are employees of area hospitals, particularly Vidant, which my understanding is Vidant has not come out with a mandate yet, but they're thinking about it. And we had yesterday an employee call us and say that she's already seen an email that says it's coming. And what I'm talking about is that you're going to be mandated to be vaccinated if you want to continue working in the healthcare industry. You came out with a paper earlier this week, late last week, talking about this exact question. Does an employer have the right to force you as an employee to become vaccinated? And you even addressed the issue, okay, but this hasn't been approved by the CDC yet. There's a lot of negativity. In fact, I said the other day when the VA came out and said that they were going to mandate their staff to be vaccinated, I made the mention on the air that, well, my hunch is most of these hospital and medical professionals have been vaccinated. I got a very straightforward email from one of the listeners said, not so fast. There's a lot that have not been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So, Senator Perry, how would you address this issue? And is the state legislature going to intervene on behalf of employees that say, you know what, I don't want to get vaccinated?
Yeah. So let me start by how I would address this. I just don't think it's right to force someone to inject anything in their body that they are not comfortable having injected in their bodies. I think it's wrong. I'm a pretty reasonable person, I think, and I'm kind of like Benny. I'm a data guy. I try to be slow to react, and I try to measure things. I personally chose to get a vaccine. Mm-hmm. And even with every story I've seen out there about, X number of deaths or this or that, when I do the math, I still say, okay, well, I'm a hypocrite if I say that the majority of people who get COVID are okay if I don't also say that about the vaccine. But that is my personal choice.
Right.
I don't care what somebody else thinks about it. It is my choice. I think it's the same way for these hospital workers. And I don't think it's right. I don't feel good about it. I also just to forget my personal opinion about a vaccine, because, someone in medicine could argue with me, and certainly many have. But I tell you what they really can't argue with. When we had a spike, and I heard a lot of concerns from hospitals about staffing their units, and the shortages they have. And we all know we've had a nursing shortage in North Carolina for at least the last decade. We know based on published reports, we're probably down at least a few thousand nurses right now. So they didn't have enough when we spiked before, but they think it's wise to put a mandate out like this that, and I'm not a doomsday guy. I'm not saying 80% of nurses or healthcare professionals are going to walk out the doors, but I am telling you some will. Well, so you didn't have enough last time, and you're going to throw this out there. It's going to push some away from you, and they're not coming back, and you think that's a smart business decision to provide more care in the hospitals. I have to question that.
Bingo. Yeah, I have to agree with you, and I think if these individuals that didn't want the vaccination, if they stood together and came in as a body and saying we're not going to do it, I would think those in authority would have a double take and say maybe we didn't make the right decision.
Well, I tell you also, as a business guy and somebody who's given to math, I would look for the opportunity in this. And I think, well, hell, we've been struggling with a nursing shortage for so long. This is my chance to differentiate as a hospital or a healthcare system.
Yeah.
If I've got, all these groups going heavy-handed, well, I'll start advertising tomorrow and say, hey, we don't mandate that you take a vaccine. We encourage it. Like to see it, but we will not mandate it. We have more respect for you than that. Because when you have someone's livelihood you can hold over their head and the ability to feed their family, and you force them into that decision, I don't think they're ever going to forget it. So they may not leave you today, but I bet given first opportunity they will.
Not to mention, in the last 18 months, there's no other section of workers other than frontline healthcare workers that have not sacrificed any more than them. While people stay at home, work from home, some refuse to go to work. Our healthcare workers, where in the heck will we be without our healthcare workers for the last 18 months?
Good point. It's interesting too, Jim, that, by the way, we're talking to Senator Jim Perry and on the whole COVID issue and how it's relating to healthcare workers. Why is it, and you might not have an answer for this, Oski, anyway, because you're a North Carolina senator, you're supposed to know everything. Why is it that when we count up those people that have been vaccinated, we were talking about this just a few minutes ago, it's somewhere around 68, 70%, and yet nowhere in the statistics do they ever come back and say, well, and also, or include in people that have been vaccinated, those people who have natural antibodies because they've had COVID. Why is that never a part of the formula?
I think that's a great question. I actually had that discussion with a pediatrician today because they had been speculating at the rate of recovery and how many people actually probably had antibodies and things of that nature. And I asked him why we didn't do that at state level. If I had to speculate, their argument would probably be they don't know how long that type of antibody is going to protect someone, so they don't want to count it. And I want to point out, according to the numbers shared today, over 84% of the age group most at risk, so 84% of individuals 65 or older in our state have received the vaccine. Now, I just don't know, when you have a free society, I don't think it's reasonable to expect or even have a goal of 95 or 100%. I think that's much better than we've seen with previous vaccines throughout history.
Right.
That's a great uptake, in my opinion.
Well, the other issue, too, is, and we've talked about this before, Benny and I have, is if you go back and look at the flu vaccines, when they've had a vaccine come out and we have just a few dozen deaths as a result of the vaccine, they pull it off the market. In this case, we've had some 4,000 or 5,000 deaths from this vaccine, and nobody even blinks an eye.
It's interesting to me that sometimes the math and the percentages matters if it's something that, an idea you believe in and you're pushing, then you justify it with the math, but you don't want to hear it if someone disagrees with your opinion and they're using it.
I know that the North Carolina House and the Senate have tried to come back and really make our election laws much stronger, much fair and not easily broken, that we don't want fraud, we don't want any hanky-panky going on our elections. We do have a governor that seems to veto those kind of things. Interestingly, the Biden Department of Justice yesterday came out and said that they're going to sue states that are passing legislation that would take election laws back to pre-COVID. And, a lot of people have wondered why the authoritarian, draconian way that so many people on the left have insisted that we stay in lockdown mode, stay with a mask, demand the vaccinations. Perhaps one of the reasons you see the left doing this is so that they can keep the draconian laws in place as it relates to having loose election laws. Apparently, Garrett, the new Attorney General,
Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland, thank you, Benny. He came out and said, "Yeah, we're gonna take you to court and sue you if you try to change your election laws." Is that going to have any effect in North Carolina for anything you all have been trying to do?
I don't think so. We're in a better place because we did get some bipartisan support for changes that we have made, and the ones we made prior to the election, most were temporary in nature anyway. And we try to get bipartisan support that has proven to be favorable in previous lawsuits. I think you see them coming out and doing that. It is, in my opinion, pretty typical of what you see. And what's frustrating about being conservatives is that we're conservative by nature. So even when it comes to changing something, we tend to do it. We tend to do it slowly. We tend to do it incrementally. We try to give things thought. That's right. But we see just the opposite when our colleagues on the left are in control of something. They go whole hog immediately, and that's something that frustrates me. We tend to worry about getting buy-in, and we don't fare well in the courts. When we face a conservative justice, it feels like we lose half the time because they won't reinvent the law to get the result someone's looking for. And it feels like when we face a liberal justice, we lose 100% of the time. So it's just a very, very frustrating time for us. And in my opinion, it's just more of the same behavior we've seen.
I want to get a couple more COVID questions for you, then I want to move on to education. But again, getting back to those healthcare workers in the front lines that some of these hospitals are saying you must be vaccinated. Is there any type of, well, of course, I guess it's too late to introduce any new legislation, but is there any hope from the state level, from the North Carolina legislature, that would give these people an out?
I think that so far we've seen some public outcry coming from them, and I do think that's very helpful. I think one of the reasons that you didn't see more mandates come out today in the announcements is because we have been just raising Cain internally and trying everything we can. I know there's been many of us on the telephone with either hospital boards or hospital administrators about this decision, and that may help, may not, but I do know that the reaction that they're receiving from the healthcare workers has not been positive, and I hope that it causes someone to pause. The problem we have with legislation is the same problem we have with every piece of legislation, and we've got some things that we've been negotiating with the governor's office on now because, we can pass it, but if we can't get Democrats to stand with us, he can veto it. So we've been trying to work out some issues on some pieces of legislation that we have. When it comes to things of this nature, I think we'll continue to try to attack it on two fronts. One, through the lawmaking process and conversations with the governor and Democratic members who are also hearing from constituents in their districts, but also in talking with the hospitals. I think that some people are well-intended, but it is this heavy-handed approach is the wrong approach. You're not changing any hearts and minds. People who have hesitancy about the vaccine still have hesitancy, but you are showing a great deal of disrespect to them, and I do believe it's going to show in turnover numbers in the future for those hospitals.
One last question as it relates to COVID and the vaccinations. We have seen, and people brought this up when they call in, we have seen hundreds of thousands of people each month illegally crossing our southern border. Somewhere between 10% and 30% are crossing, and they're COVID positive. And they're told, go quarantine yourself in this Holiday Inn or somewhere, and they're not following the law. They're out and about in the community, and then we also find out that the Biden administration is shipping these people throughout the United States. As a North Carolina senator, what are you being told in terms of these people being shipped to North Carolina? Do you have any ability to, A, have that knowledge, and B, do something about it?
I don't have any knowledge of that happening other than anecdotal things that I've seen on social media. We haven't been made aware of it. We've made some inquiries. I think we have some public records requests that will be going out on the topic because it is concerning. But I don't have any proof of it happening here. I don't know where it's happening. But we are trying to find out if that's the case, because it just makes no sense. Just like the whiplash of guidance that we've seen, coming from the CDC and the big changes that we've seen. It was 2 months ago that President Biden said, if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. And he even said, let me repeat, if you're fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. Well, vaccine either works or it doesn't. 2 months later, the CDC is saying just the opposite, and I think that erodes credibility and risks undermining from the far more important message on vaccine. I don't think we need to be in a perpetual state of panic. This is just one variant. How many more variants are there going to be in the future? We're going to have to learn to live with this virus, and it is going to impact some people. But I think it's very important that we make our thoughts known that, we have no interest in lockdowns. We know school closures were a failure. We have no interest in restrictions, and we have no interest in mandates.
Jim, you got a couple more minutes we can talk about some education issues?
Sure.
Okay. First question. We did a story yesterday. It was out of the Carolina Journal. Public schools in North Carolina have received $3.5 billion in COVID relief, from three different sources: the CARES Act, coronavirus response, and the American Rescue Plan, totaling $3.5 billion. And school leaders have only spent 13% of that $3.5 billion, which Benny and I were talking yesterday. So it's one of two things: either somebody's got a huge bank account of money, what are they going to spend it on? Or we didn't really need all this emergency money coming through. If we did, it had been spent by now. What are your thoughts on this?
I think you've got a mixture of both. Now, some of the money came with pretty strict guidelines on what it could be used for when it came down from the feds. And so some of it you're waiting for. It's being used for construction projects, or they're replacing HAVOC systems in the schools, and someplace new roofs, new windows, things like that.
Right.
In my opinion, it was overly generous. It was used to shoehorn a way to put more funds out. We did need some money in some of the schools to help with PPE and different cleaning supplies, and we had some internet-related needs, and we had some needs, but not $3.5 billion worth, in my opinion.
Jim, who will be responsible for monitoring that? Would that fall in the state auditor's office, Beth Wood, for monitoring how that's spent, or at the state level, or?
Yeah, so there are some reporting requirements that were built in when it went out to the local school systems. So they'll report back to the system, and I think each time we got funds, different deals, different laws, and it changed the reporting structure. They had to request it in some instances, and let them know in advance what they're using the money for. So as is typical in government, it was not exactly neat and concise. It was sort of scattered.
Mm-hmm.
Let me switch gears to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. The House proposed this House Bill 91, which zoomed through the state Senate, and a major restructure of the North Carolina Athletic Association, High School Athletic Association, which has been in place since 1913. The biggest shocker out of the story that was in the N&O earlier today was they've got $41 million in the bank. And somebody said that's more money than the ACC has in the bank. What is House Bill 91, and where is this going, Jim?
So House Bill 91 was drafted by 3 senators. They made a change to a House bill when it came over. It was sitting in our committee. And they had been trying to have some conversations with the High School Athletic Association over concerns that were raised by their constituents. I've got concerns raised by my constituents. I've got concerns raised from my friends in Greene County about how some things were being done. When they couldn't get any response, couldn't get any dialogue going, and didn't have the type of conversation going that was needed to get anywhere, they filed legislation. Legislation has a very unique way of getting people's attention. And, as we dug into this thing, we learned more and more and more. And I'll give you just a few nuggets that'll drop your call.
Okay.
They made a public statement that when we asked about the amount of funds in reserves, they made a public statement and put information out. They said in 1986, the board of directors passed a motion. They told us to have 1 year of operating revenue in reserve and work toward a goal of 2 years so that the association could continue to operate despite, and I quote, a catastrophe which eliminates income such as war, teacher strikes, etc. Now, that was 1986. The only problem with that was in 1981, the state of North Carolina outlawed strikes by public employees. And I don't know anyone. You got a CPA up there. I don't know anyone that writes a business plan preparing for war. But let's just say the idea of catastrophe is real. And they said, look, we just want to have some money on the sideline. I went to page 7 of their published financial statement, their audited financial statement, ended June 30th, 2020. And I said, okay, well, if they don't have revenue, they're not going to have some of these expenses associated with operating, like advertising, awards. Depreciation is a non-cash item. They're not going to pay insurance, not paying payments to schools, team expenses. So they were indicating their expenses were about $5 million a year. Well, when I just went through a reasonable pro forma exercise, I eliminated 60% of those expenses because they wouldn't be doing business as normal. It got down to about $2 million.
Wow.
In that same audited financial statement, they indicate they have $24.1 million in unrestricted assets.
24.1?
So, they do have 24.1.
Wow.
So they do have about $15 million in restricted accounts. They can't do anything with it. That's the endowment. That's okay. But they've got $24 million, and their expenses. And I was generous, but the most expenses they have about $2 million a year. That's $12 million. 12 years of reserves that they have. To put that in perspective, they have 12 years of reserves. When we had a rainy day fund of $2 billion, some people lost their mind. They said, hey, you just got too much cash. You're keeping too much. Our expenses are about $26 billion a year. So if we were to have 12 years of reserves, our rainy day fund would have to be $312 billion.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, and
so can you imagine how people would lose their minds if we stacked up $312 billion?
And as you know, Jim, most cities and counties in North Carolina will have 1 to 2 months worth. In fact, the local government commission, I think they're on their radar if you
8%.
Get 8%. So 2 years is a lot.
Yeah, having 12 years, I can't imagine.
Is absurd.
Yeah.
Particularly when you have these counties, these high schools out in these poor counties in eastern North Carolina and western North Carolina is working their tails off just to keep their programs, and then they're charging the heck out of them fees every time they do something. But,
well, and if these are... Go ahead, Jim.
In fairness, I coached youth league soccer for 16 seasons. I coached girls basketball. I couldn't go coach a high school team. It's not my skill set. I couldn't do it. and we do need folks running high school athletics that understand those things. But, you know, to issue a statement like that justifying the accumulation of that kind of cash tells me they'd probably benefit from having some financial minds on that board too. And that's not an insult. It's just an understanding of where skill sets lie. As we dug into this thing, we found out, look, the State Board of Education is only authorized to allow an association to administer the rules that they come up with. That's it. They don't have the legal authority to allow them to do all these other things that they've been doing. So, you know, it's a problem. I understand the conversations went well yesterday. Everyone is more level set. I think this, in the end, will be fine. That there will be some changes. There'll have to be some changes in the way things are done, but it's going to work out fine.
So there will still be a North Carolina High School Athletic Association, but it's going to be comprised of a board that will be put together from the state legislature and from the governor's office.
Well, that is proposed in legislation. I think if things go as anticipated, meaning cooperation continues and these things are fixed, I don't even know that would happen. I don't think it would. But there has to be some changes and some different methods of oversight and appeal, and you know, our constituent schools have to feel that they're heard. They have to feel they get a fair shake in the process. But I wasn't there. I'm out of state, but I was told there were very productive conversations yesterday and some very reasonable dialogue that went on. And I think, you know, people found out some information they didn't know, that's senators and board members. So I think it's on a better path, but, you know, you have to understand the outrage that people have felt about that stuff.
Senator Jim Perry calling in from the road. Appreciate all you do for us, Jim. You've always been so agreeable to just jump on the telephone and talk about these issues with us. We do appreciate it. And safe travels. We'll look forward to having you back.
Hey, Jim.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Senator Jim Perry calling in. We need to take a timeout. We're way over. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Got a trade? Now's the time at Greenville Toyota. Never in history has your trade been worth more. Get paid today. Then get a new Toyota hot off the delivery truck. Hurry before they're gone. Like Camrys, $189 a month. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
Anything could happen ever since I met you. Let me take you dancing.
Introducing Pepsi Mango.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
This one's for everyone who spends the amount of time it would take to watch a movie, agreeing on which movie to watch. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Toyota shoppers, now's the time at Greenville Toyota. Shipments of factory fresh Toyotas are arriving daily and being sold almost immediately, like Corollas for $159 a month. Get yours before they're gone. Now's the time. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
Break the chain. Eat local. Tiebreakers.
Hey, this is Hank Hinton back here at Full Service Flooring in Winterville. I'm here today with Corey Little, who's the operations manager here at Full Service Flooring. Corey's been here 6 months, but you've been in construction a long time. Tell us about what you do here at Full Service Flooring.
Yeah, I got over here about 6 months ago. I've been in construction for, like I said, a little over 20 years, and I've known Tim for a long time now, and he's brought me over here to see what new kind of things I can bring to the store and to our customers. And I'm in charge of scheduling, and I don't know what else. I'm in charge of everything. It seems like we work together as a team and try to pull it all together. I might do a measure one day and do a commercial floor the next day, but we just kind of all work together and pull it all together at one time.
So what's new in flooring? What is the hot new thing?
The hot new thing is LVP or LVT, depending on what you're looking for, which look you're looking for. It's a waterproof product. It's absolutely fantastic. You can't really beat it.
A lot cheaper than hardwoods?
It is definitely a cost-effective alternative to hardwoods, yes, sir.
So, Corey, how is business right now?
And business is good. Despite the pandemic, we're still seeing a lot of new customers in the store, and we get an opportunity to introduce our products in a lot of different situations right now.
Corey, you've got a lot of experience in the construction industry. How is that helping you here with people, helping people with flooring here at Full Service Flooring?
Sure. I try to take the experiences that I've gained over my time in construction to help apply that to the flooring, whether it be with what the structure is made out of, the subfloor that we're going over top of, or maybe even just how it coordinates with your kitchen cabinets in construction or in your bathroom and how the tub and everything all ties together.
And a customer can just come here and see you anytime?
Absolutely. We're here 6 days a week, and we just love to see a new customer in here anytime. They can always call us and schedule something with us so we can make sure we have our time allotted for them.
Corey, thank you so much. That's Corey Little here at Full Service Flooring. Come see these guys. They're on Tilco Drive in Winterville, 756-9308 and fullserviceflooring.com.
In North Carolina, we get up before the sun rises and stay up into the wee hours of the night. We believe in working hard and playing harder. Behind every meal, there's a farmer, and behind every farmer, there's got to be NC, the official state identity program for North Carolina agricultural products. Look for the Got to Be NC logo wherever you shop or eat, and you'll know you're getting a quality product grown, raised, caught, or made in North Carolina.
Welcome back in. Political trivia got bumped because of our
bigger name on the
long-windedness. Yeah, our long-windedness. Our thanks to Senator Jim Perry. Fox News is reporting U.S. Capitol Police were ordered by Queen Pelosi, Queen Nancy, to arrest visitors and staff who refused to wear a mask on the House side of the Capitol complex, according to a police memo issued by the chief. That was obtained by a member of Congress. Police were also advised not to arrest members of Congress for not wearing a mask, but they will be fined $500. And apparently the way they're going to collect their money, if you're given a citation, a fine citation for not wearing a mask and you're a member of Congress, Nancy is going to deduct it from your pay. Well, Thomas Massie was interviewed by Bill Hemmer of Fox News, and Thomas Massie made it real clear he wasn't going to put up with these shenanigans.
So Pelosi fined us for $500 each. She's taking it directly out of our salary, which runs contrary to the Constitution. You know, the courts usually won't get involved in these squabbles inside the House, but when they violate the Constitution, We believe the courts are going to take this case up because of the way in which she's collecting the fine.
Okay, the 27th Amendment forbids like changing the compensation of an acting member of Congress, right? And the reason I understand that went in there is because they wanted to prevent lawmakers from giving themselves a raise midterm, and that's the case you're making. But now that she's reinitiated the mask mandate, will you now back down and wear one?
Hell no, I'm not backing down. In fact, I'm not wearing one if she wants to find me again, and we may have more co-litigants in this case, more plaintiffs. I've got people asking if they can join the lawsuit now.
Interesting stuff. And by the way, Thomas Massey has got pretty deep pockets, so he's not worried about that.
He had a tech company or something.
Yeah,
I think
and he sold out, and and his house is totally off the grid. We actually had him in here with Walter Jones years ago. By the way, again, one of the reasons why they want to keep the hysterics going is because, connect the dots, the New York Post is reporting today, the Biden Justice Department sent a stern warning yesterday that it would sue states that return to pre-pandemic voting laws, adding fuel to the fiery national debate over election law integrity measures. The new Biden administration legal guidance stated the department enforcement policy does not consider a jurisdiction readoption of prior voting laws or procedures to be lawful. Instead, the department will review a jurisdiction's changes in voting laws or procedures for compliance with all federal laws regarding elections as the facts and circumstance warrant. That is a real fancy way of saying we still want to cheat in the 2022 elections, and by gosh, we're going to use COVID as a draconian hammer to make sure that we have the ability to cheat again in 2022.
Or as Stacey Abrams, we talked about yesterday, said if we don't repeat what we did last election, we're going to be effed.
Hey, our thanks again to Jim Perry. We'll get to political trivia maybe tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again tomorrow at 5. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Passalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the 2 dining areas. You got 2 different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have 2 rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service, and we're always improving our services.
And of course, my friends here, my buddy Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu, and Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabella's and the great pizza that you get at Marabella's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see them at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Top Dog Academy is Eastern North Carolina's complete dog training facility. Top Dog provides an excellent environment for dogs of all ages with training services and work week daycare. Top Dog is located on Highway 43 South, just 4 miles from Bells Fork, and features a comfortable, healthy environment and a spacious facility for daycare and a brand new, beautiful facility for training. Call 752-8215 or visit TopDogOnline.com.
Come on out Highway 43 South to Top Dog Academy, where we know dogs.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.